does TikTok show how many people it does show?
Yeah. I can't
You
see
guys
it.
are live.
I can't see it right now. It's on the top right
All
corner.
right. Welcome to the Big Medicine Podcast. I'm Cosmic Mystic,
Lucius Allure.
and thank you guys for
Peter
tuning in
Smith.
today.
Yeah.
We've got an amazing guest here today. His name's Peter Smith, and he's such a beautiful brother. I'm so excited for you guys to meet this brother and hear his
Yes,
story, hear his experience. He is massively
Tuned in.
just a phenomenal asset to the human collective.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
very much looking forward to you guys getting the chance to meet this incredible brother. So
Thank
that
you for the
being,
introduction.
yeah, no problem, brother.
Happy to be
So
here.
that being said, I would love to, if you're open to it, just to let the audience know kind of a little bit about your path and how you ended up where you're at and with the gifts that you have, or at least recognizing and implementing those gifts.
So in the beginning, I was born clairvoyant. I was born clairvoyant from both mother's sides and both sides of my family. And my sister and I ended up being very psychic and very connected. And simply said, I'm looking there, I should look into there. There you are.
You can look at us too.
Yeah,
so.
you can go. Yeah.
This is big monolithic speaker. So I was a bodybuilder for a good deal of my time until I had a big revelation throughout my, let's say, the phase of my life where I had shut down my openness and my connectedness and the clairaudience and clairvoyance. And so that was my way of dealing with the energies, to insulate myself with a lot of muscle. And I had a revelation which had shifted me off of the bodybuilding scene. Basically, I felt the same on the inside, even though I had changed myself on the outside. So I prayed really for the first time, and the next day I was introduced to Deepak Chopra.
Wow.
And I was introduced to the yogis and the idea of enlightenment. And so that took me on a journey of self-discovery and awakening, which was very different than my ideas before, of course.
Right.
And so that started a long, let's just say it started there, and here I am today. So I went through many layers of different kinds of spirituality, but found my innate connection, but also my interest to be more conscious and awake.
Yeah.
So that's really my interest, not psychic perceptions per se, but all of the higher dimensions, which include myself, but also integrating my human aspect as well. So that's what I love to do.
Right, which you're absolutely amazing at. So
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to sit in on have Peter work a session on me, and helped me recognize physically in my root chakra some sensations that I'd never been aware of, but had a very large impact on my experience.
Yeah. It's
Especially over the past 6 months. Going through a lot of the energetic shifts that I believe a lot of people are going through. So why don't we just let the audience know what you I know you have a really good clientele, very loyal clientele, like what your sessions look like for them.
what do you do for them?
It's whatever they show up with is what I usually get. I usually have a connection with them before a session. So even before the session, truly speaking, the work's complete. However, on a human level, on a third dimensional level, which is important because that's where the consciousness is needed, we actually have the session. So then we go through and reiterate the work that's been going on already. So the energy isn't in time. Once they want it, it aligns.
Right.
And so I play a part of, you might say, their higher self, just to reflect back to them the things that they need.
Right.
So it may be reflective of psychic kinds of perceptions, but my preference always is to help the person's spirit be awake.
Yeah.
So that they're conscious of that, as opposed to the identities that form in different levels,
Right.
because they generate out of different levels of fear and ideas and safety, and so those don't actually contain your spirit, they're projections of your spirit. So in the openness, which is actually the asking of the being wanting a session, that actually opens themselves up to all of life. So I play a part of that. And so I simply give what I have available.
So prior to the session, you've already done the work energetically.
Right, and then there's the delay before it to show up in the 3D realm,
Right.
correct?
For the most part,
Yeah.
yes. There's always, tinkering
Yeah.
around and things like
Right.
that. But the basic thing, because the spirit is very simple.
Yes.
The human brain is very complex,
Right.
a lot of resistant layers and aspects and persona and discovery. But at a spirit level or even just a higher dimensional aspect, it's just boom, and they get it and they go, that's what I want.
Right.
Awesome.
Otherwise, they don't want it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they're not in that space.
Right.
Yeah. So I know you're massively in touch with the angelic realm and with beings like that, as well as extraterrestrial beings. How would you say that they play the roles that they play in this experience with us? Because we're all one. We know that on a higher dimensional
Right.
level.
Right.
But what are they here to do for us? What's your perception?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
They're servants. That's really the highest position is to serve.
Right.
And in service, it's a totally unconditional, unselfish expression, which is love.
Right.
And so, since that's all they are, that's their work. You might call it the great work. And that work is what we're discovering in this plane. And they do it because it's a state of love itself.
Right.
So we just haven't learned that yet.
Yeah.
Is that
So a general answer to that is that they just love to serve. You ask and there they are.
is that both the angels and the extraterrestrials, or one or the other?
Angels never leave. They're always there. They're never not with us because they don't have limitations in the way that we think.
Right.
Spirit guides come and go relative to the kinds of experiences we need and relative to a Native American kind of lifetime or Atlantean kind of lifetime or other beings or other, if we've had human incarnations and there's other relationships there like grandfather, they're not usually guides, but they can take on ideas of that kind of realm. But usually spirit guides is kind of profession in higher
Right.
dimensions. So it's like their expertise.
So
ETs have entirely their own perspective, which is a whole nother concept, which can go into if you like. But
Yeah.
they're-
Yeah, that's
in
interesting.
essence, the work is still the same.
Right.
It's the awakening of who we are. But of course, there's many layers within all of them.
Right.
Angels address you very differently than spirit guides
or
because they don't guide you.
or obviously extraterrestrials for people who interact.
Actually, let me just correct. Some angels do guide, most direct.
Okay.
Some protect. And yeah, it's a big canvas there.
Right,
Sorry, you
yeah.
were gonna, what was that?
No, I was just trying to get your perception on, I can't remember exactly what I asked, but something about the
Oh,
extraterrestrials.
how do they, what's their role kind of thing?
Yeah, more or less.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like a spectrum with them, like with the ETs and
ETs?
stuff like that?
Yeah, each race has their own interests, and it's been called agenda in a negative way. But
Right.
in my experience, the agenda is a nice neutral definition for that they have something to give, and there's a participatory aspect to it, where we are usually not conscious of that. So we think we're abducted, or we think we're taken.
Exactly.
So I've actually had to take that up with them, and actually, in my abduction experiences, and have a one-on-one with them. And I had to shift to see their perspective. I had to actually find much more consciousness to comprehend what was going on their end, and I had to be much more responsible instead of pointing the finger and saying, you negative things here,
Right.
negative things there. I had to be responsible enough to go, I have a part here. How much am I projecting my own stuff onto
Right.
them
Right.
Well,
and misperceiving?
and a lot of that, probably 100% of that is something that we signed up for prior. to
Right.
coming
Exactly,
with the
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. Not unlike when a client asks me for something, it happens already there. Same thing there.
Right, okay.
Which is why when they're taken somewhere, there's usually a command or suggestion to forget it because of how disturbed when they come back they'll be by recalling the experience.
Wow.
Because how would the brain process
Right.
sitting in a ship or seeing weird things or the level of interaction or walking through walls kind of thing.
I could see that delaying the like manifestation of the results even more, kind of.
Yes, totally.
When they're like realize, oh, something happened and I'm not sure if I vibe with that, even though they already like agreed to it like prior to life and all that. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and that taking on that perception is just us dropping down so deeply in the ego and not quite being to that level to where we see the multidimensionality of the experience yet.
Right. Yeah.
And also what they also tend to do, depending on which races, but most of them do this, is they transmit something that you don't necessarily need to retain in your mind.
Totally.
So when you receive an expansion, you've already received the opening.
Yes.
Right.
So then they see, how do you deal with the opening?
And the way that I've experienced that, and the way that I explain that process to me, because I've been very aware of that happening to me on multiple occasions, is that it's like a zip file. Like they're giving me a zip file, and I don't have access to it until I've leveled up.
Right.
And then once I've leveled up
Then
to
you
a
unlock
certain
the
level,
files.
then I open the file.
That's
And then
Yeah.
awaken.
I love that.
Yes.
Right.
That's a great
analogy.
metaphor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just the
Yeah.
way that I explain it to people from what I've experienced. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's pretty,
Oh,
For
that's
sure.
exact.
Hey,
Yeah.
would you be open to sharing some of your experiences
With
with the
ETs?
the ETs or
yeah,
angels or? I mean, we
thinking
spoke
of-
the other night about the Metatron, and I never got to finish that story.
Oh,
so
that's-
that would be a really cool thing to talk about too.
We
but-
can get into that in a little bit. I wanted
that's
to leave.
interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've
Still sitting in that.
I've been waiting on pause since
Oh.
that conversation. Like, what happened next?
Oh yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
inside story. I
Yeah.
started sharing an experience.
Yeah.
And I got halfway through because it took many nights to get through it.
Right, and also, I mean, there were a couple of us that may have had some fungi present within our person, and that may have like distracted us from the ending of the story, or the second half.
But that was not
Yeah.
Peter. I want to make sure everybody
Right.
understands. Peter is a clear vessel.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
does not. He's such a
I don't do any-
sensitive and powerful vessel that he can actually feel the experience from other people
Yeah.
being in their presence while they're on medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's one of the beautiful things about you too.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Like your sensitivity to everything and the way that you're in tune with it and the way that you actually like express to make sure that your outside environment is something that's actually vibing with you.
yeah.
I think that's so valuable and I love that about
Oh,
you. It's
thank
one of
you.
those things that I really respect about you.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So
I'll quote Wim Hof here. I get high off my own supply.
Yeah.
I
Right?
like
Yeah,
to say.
yeah.
So basically, I've in my yogic years, I've opened up all my chakras
Right.
to the point where I'm pretty much releasing DMT
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
So I'm never not in that.
Right.
Right.
So arriving here in Sedona, it's been much more even visionary
Yes.
Right.
and experiential.
Because anybody who has not been here that's in the audience, when you come into Sedona, there are massive activations that occur within you, because the way that I have explained it to people in the past is that when people feel called to Sedona, even
Right.
if they just like, oh, it's a great place to hike or bike or whatever,
yeah,
just to
yeah.
have fun, they're being called by their higher self to a place to receive massive activations.
Right.
Yeah.
So you come here when your higher self is like, okay, it's time to activate these. And some people even leave this spot not even consciously being aware of those activations
Right.
until like maybe it might be a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
It's just like
Yeah.
the zip
Delay.
drive.
Zip drives,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the
Download
people,
when enabled.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Most of the
Yeah.
people in the audience who have experienced this space, this ley line
Yeah.
intersection, are very well aware. Because I'm sure most of your followers and our followers for the for the podcast
Yeah.
have probably been here
Or heard about it at least, right? Yeah.
aware, have it in their consciousness.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's a complete activator. So someone like you coming into a location like this
Right.
has got to
Right.
be like basically
Lots and lots.
Massively intense.
being on
Yeah.
being on like
Super
freaking
upgrade.
ayahuasca.
It's
You know?
And I wonder if that had a hand in like your Metatron experience.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was prepared for about 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks
Yeah.
prior to being here.
Mhm.
Wow.
So when they do that with me, a certain extraterrestrial race, that's for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it has an effect of massive breakthrough.
Yeah.
So if I get, let's say, transmissions
Mm-hmm.
once or twice per day for weeks,
Mhm.
it's, there's
Yeah.
something for it.
Yeah.
And we went on a night hike up to a location called Courthouse, and I won't get into too many details on this unless you want to, but I will tell you this to the audience, that we did some massive activations with the being Metatron, and I've been in his energy. I'm wearing a Metatron's cube right now, and I just felt like putting it on this morning.
Mm.
Because I've been feeling him so intensely since that night. And we came here the next morning, and so many people were just like so emotional. I'm like, what did we activate here?
The next day,
People were coming
kept
into
showing up, breaking down.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Which is the intention.
exactly.
Breaking down the walls.
Yeah.
It was massively powerful what happened that night and what we experienced. Like I said, don't. It's up to Peter on if we get into any details on that night. But
That's a big one. Yeah.
yeah, that was
I can say something there.
okay.
Yeah.
Metatron is an angel that we have a lot of ideas for what angels are,
Right.
biblically speaking.
Yes.
And a lot of references here.
Right.
But the actual entities themselves are far, far, far. Let's just say they're incomprehensible
Yes.
Mm.
in scale of power and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So they begin their existence full and complete.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of information that's accurate about what angels are, but suffice to say that Metatron is a entity at a level of scale that, and a lot of angels do this. It's not just archangels and not just this one, but the way they communicate is that their expressions birth universes, multiples of universes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, in the form of like a scream or a yell or a song.
Mm-hmm.
In that expression, how could one comprehend the magnitude of the power of that
Exactly.
generation
For sure.
of power and energy and content and stuff
Right.
for the purpose of creating an environment for beings to live in?
Mm-hmm.
So when one does connect to Metatron, it's so impossibly reduced in volume that by the time you actually find the connection to Metatron, you don't actually connect to what he is, but some of the energy there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, the amount of energy that is there is so significant to us. It's
Mind blowing.
let's say it can be terrible. You
Yeah.
have to be prepared for the consequences of
Mhm.
going to Metatron. You can speak to Metatron, but if you open to it, be prepared for what's there. My suggestion is don't open to it. And certain extraterrestrial races said don't pray to archangels because of the power of what they exhibit, because our biology can't handle it.
It's really important, I think, that you put that information out there because that's not out there.
Right.
Right.
There's so many people that are. When I do a sound ceremony, one of the first things I do is I call in I do it in a druidic shaman way because that's my DNA codes.
Right.
I carry those codes as we've spoken before.
Yeah.
But I call in the directions and I use animal spirits. I've seen some people call in the angels for the corners, and I think that's a bit too much. And it's a child playing with a handgun.
A nuclear weapon.
Right. Yeah.
Now, just to be clear, angels are so countless in the universe. We are almost nothing compared to them. So they are the most abundant life form that exists. So the variety of angels are in the billions, just the types, not the amounts. So there's probably a number of quadrillions or quintillions. So the ones I speak of primarily are archangels.
Yeah, like Raphael or
Gabriel.
Yeah,
right.
Uriel.
But those are the beings that some of these people who feel very connected to the angelic realms are when they call in the directions and associate a being to that direction or calling in.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
You just want to be careful when you ask to merge and connect with them
Right.
because
Make sure you're
they
ready.
don't have restraint. So we're the one that takes on the reception of that.
Mm.
So that's why a lot of people can do it without seeing the effect.
Yeah.
But if you go, okay, hit me,
Yeah.
be aware
Okay,
that the
yeah.
consequences are going to occur.
Okay,
It's like trying to plug a like washing machine into like a regular outlet, right? And it would just like completely like fry it, right?
Yeah,
Or where
a
it's
washing
like-
machine into a lightning bolt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like
You know,
that.
and that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
even
yeah.
accurate scale.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Still. Yeah.
totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or maybe
short circuit,
ant,
right?
an ant to a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
That kind of power.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's easy to be fried from that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. For
You know,
sure.
turn to charcoal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to take that on, do it with your own discernment and your own development.
I would
Because it
even-
takes some mastery to do that.
Right. I would even say like make sure that your energies are like fully like flowing, you know, because this is gonna be like you're gonna need to be like ready to carry it through. Right. So
Exactly.
you have to like prep yourself. Like just like if you were like an electrician and you're like setting something up, you gotta make sure that all the wires are like
be
rated
ready.
correctly and everything
Yeah.
like that.
And everything will come up, even
Yeah.
if you don't want it to.
Yeah.
Because spirit guides and extraterrestrials will share and transmit energy in ways that it's professionally and very refinedly and surgically even dialed to get you exactly where you want to be. With archangels, you just get the full load of light. And so the consequences of that, you better integrate all of that. Otherwise, the light not integrated turns into whatever you need to get you awake, like a car accident or an illness or some event like
Divorce.
you might have
Any
yeah,
dark
some-
night of the
exactly.
soul
Yeah.
type of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
experience.
An event to bring forward the light that you asked for.
Right.
So it'll force consciousness.
So for our listeners who are like interested in connecting with angels and things like that, how would you like direct someone to like prepare? Or how would you prepare yourself, you know, for that sort of interaction?
With an archangel,
Yeah,
or
or an angel. Yeah, yeah, any of them. Because I feel like one of the really good things is to like share the value, and like you've dropped some like big bombshells already. So like now I'm sure they're like, well, how the fuck do I get ready for that?
we
kind
can't
of
read
thing,
your
right?
comments, unfortunately. From here.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
a lot there.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so like, are there any like methods that you use that like kind of prepare your vessel for that sort of interaction?
The thing that helps me is basically the kind of understanding, to say it very simply, is an integrated approach to spirituality,
Okay.
meaning that it's not focused through the mind, for example,
right.
like some spiritualities may be, or just in the heart kind of thing, or a lot of different religions and spiritual practices are organized to address levels of yourself.
Right.
But what I like to do is have a holistic perspective
Right.
where all my centers are available for
Right.
acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I can stay in alignment with truth.
Right.
Because when it comes up, I can be in acceptance instead of when an energy comes up, the tendency from your animal instinct, because we all have an animal, and that's basically what your lower three chakras will reflect when
Right.
you feel a fear.
Right.
There'll be a stimulus of fight or flight. So what does your animal want to do? Your animal wants to act out of fear.
So
Right.
that's your egoic response.
That's actually an animal response. An
Right.
ego would be the reaction from life, from what occurred in life at that level of fear. So a persona is basically the buildup of the animal and the spirit. Animal and the spirit creates an energy that we think of as ourself. And to the degree that we don't know ourself is the persona reaction around that. So that's the buildup of context from the intelligences of the animal, because that's a form of intelligence. It's
Right.
given by the divine itself, and so is all of our dimensions of intelligence. And so the animal isn't the bad guy.
Right.
The persona is always going to be a limiter of one's experience. So that is what one has to come to terms with and
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
in the spiritual process, because that's what's going to come up, the limitation. Because let's just say if you connect to Metatron, you're
Right.
not going to be limited.
Right.
You're going to find more power and limitlessness move through you.
Right.
So it will surface to the point where it's going to vibrate in your consciousness, and you'll feel it in different places, and it's going to feel like anxiety or trauma or a lot of reactions that
That's-
are not really you,
Right.
but it'll feel like it's you. You'll believe it's you.
Right.
You'll feel encapsulated in the vortex of what you think is you. So it's like the whirlwind of what your identity is made up of.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
the key is, oh, sorry,
No, no, no,
last
go
piece. So the acceptance
Mhm.
of the truth of who you are is the center of that.
Mm.
Because when you're in acceptance of everything there
Right.
is,
Right.
it doesn't mean to make those ideas, those negative ideas, valid or to act on them. It means to let yourself feel them. You want to feel
Yes.
everything.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
So if you position yourself to feel them and you're okay with, or you at least promote the idea of acceptance, then you're okay with yourself.
Yeah.
You're not at the moment in truth, but you're in a state of love where you can now start to recognize something that's more like love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that'll start to spiral you in closer to who you really are, to your
Right.
spirit.
That sounds like a way more powerful description of the law of attraction than the mainstream
Mhm.
teachings of it.
It just gave more scientific details
Exactly,
to it, right?
exactly,
Same
yeah.
thing though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So then one of the things that they could do to prep for that type of interaction could be to like really focus on where your limitations are and letting them go, so that you can align with your love and your like highest perspective.
Absolutely.
And then that
Right.
kind of like frees you to open up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Acceptance is a big part of,
Mhm.
because acceptance really is the new dimension that we're being made available to,
Yeah.
because that's the new frequency that's here, and that's the sense of there's something new here.
Mm.
And that energy takes a few forms. Acceptance is one, cooperation is another, and the new one, the brand new one in the last month and a half is companionship, divine companionship, which will
Yeah.
reflect in life as other
Yes.
forms of companionship.
Yes.
Right. Right.
So whatever your connection to source is will reflect in life.
Yes.
So if you see disturbances, disconnections, fights in your life,
Right.
Mhm.
refine, upstairs.
Find the
Yeah.
connection. Yeah.
And so you were asking a
I
question
was.
a moment ago.
What was I going to say? Give me a second here. Oh yeah, I loved what you said about cooperation,
Yeah.
because I've been telling people. I'm sure Lucius has heard me say this. I've been telling people left and right. And one of our dear, sisters here in the community said that I should put this on a T-shirt, because I've been saying that my new saying is that co-creation and collaboration are the new economy.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just with the energies that we're moving into. It's just a
Right.
shift. Because anybody who carries this old, I want it all because there's not enough, and so you guys can't have this, that's
Competitiveness.
scarcity.
Yeah.
That's coming from scarcity and lack.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work in this new vibration.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got a opportunity to find who they really are,
Mhm.
and once you find that, then you have something to give.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So society will be built up of, instead of monetary external forms of value,
Mhm.
it'll be the true value, which is what all civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations, how they work, which is you give your gift.
Yeah.
There is no external disconnected
Yeah.
sense of value, which comes from the disconnect inside,
Right.
Yeah.
reflected on the disconnect outside, and also reflects a competitivism. Because if you feel lack and it appears to be worth outside, then your animal instinct will try to gain as much power and worth and security and safety from that external illusion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the chase.
Yeah.
Our animal's always chasing, no matter who we are, at what level. If your source is outside, then you're always in the pattern of not enough,
Yes.
ultimately, just like you said.
Yeah.
So the light that's here is to integrate in us so that we find the truth of who we are.
Mhm.
Because when we know who we are, then we have something to give.
And
Yeah.
that leads to the last thing that you said before that, right after you said the cooperation. And I think I briefly touched on this when we were in a conversation the other day with another brother about that the divine marriage or the divine union within is what
Yeah.
we're aiming for,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is the integration of our.
Masculine.
Everybody has their
Yeah.
divine feminine and divine masculine within themselves.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, so many people are seeking externally
Mhm.
that.
Right. They feel like they're only one of those two energies.
Yes.
Right? They're only resonating or like only identifying
Yes.
with one of those
Right.
energies and
Yeah.
completely neglecting the other energy.
Mhm.
Right, and they don't even realize that it's within themselves, and then that completely like shifts their balance way out of whack.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you have that divine marriage within,
Right.
if you're still at a space where you desire a external partnership, so to speak, then you will magnetize the
Right.
person on that same vibration.
Right, and they'll be whole and complete within as well. and
Yes.
completely integrated and completely
law of
aware of
attraction.
both of their energies.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, what you were asking before about the law of attraction, essentially whatever you are energetically, you'll match always.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So technically, no matter what energy you are, you're always in a, let's say, fifth dimensional state,
Yeah.
but not knowing it.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
around you that feels matched or off or negative is actually you operating a higher dimension through a lower level. And the filter is that I'm not enough, and therefore,
Yeah.
and then there's this, then there turns into, oftentimes in spiritual communities, wanting to create
Yeah.
or manifest. And
As if they didn't already have abundance,
the
right?
manifestation is always
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you can't stop generating, like an angel, a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
So people find themselves trying to generate something that is actually a need. So it turns into a whole kind of pathology of, really, how do I get enough? How do I get lots of stuff? Law of attraction works that way as well, but it will still reflect the emptiness in that dynamic. So when you're connected, then you're not trying to manifest, you just recognize you already are all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So when you're in alignment, you just go, oh, there it is, thank you, there it is, thank you. And you're
That's-
letting go constantly. That's
Right.
how to manifest.
That's a serious accountability jab to all of us, to everybody,
Yeah.
to all of our watchers,
Sorry, hope that
listeners.
didn't
No,
hurt too
it's,
much.
it's important.
I know that's
I
important.
feel like it's essential.
Yeah.
Because so many of us, not even realizing it, are spiritually bypassing.
Right.
And that right there is recognition and holding yourself accountable to a higher standard
Right.
to be able
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
like you said, it's not
Yeah.
about, like they try to teach you in the mainstream version of law of attraction, like trying to get stuff.
Right.
Get your needs met.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what your animal
Right.
wants to do.
Yeah.
It wants to always get your needs met.
Yeah.
Enough money, security, sex, position in society. It's always about, how do I get enough? And
Yeah.
if you recognize it, that's what consciousness is. You're aware of there's a fear driving, and you can be enabled to transform the limited idea of what the animal presents, which isn't bad. It's just the animal intelligence.
Yeah.
But the animal doesn't think. It just reacts.
Yes.
It reacts off of a sense of size. Just like if you see a crab walk across and you get big, it gets big. It's relative to scale, just like a cat that gets big or a buffalo that gets big. All mammalian, really most species, inflate themselves out of the animal instinct to protect themselves. But in doing that, it creates the energetic of, I'm not enough, and then you stay stuck in that. So the opportunity now in the feminine wave of energy is to include the feminine energetic, which allows love to melt all those layers
Yeah.
of persona that's there.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, Peter, because so many people are just
It's all about love.
there's a
always.
there's a hijacking on what the feminine is, and you just broke it down so simply that like a child could understand it, because you get this. I understand that we've been in this space where there's been a suppression of the feminine,
Right.
but if we're not careful and we're not aware and conscious of the balance within, then there's an overcompensation of that feminine, which you're seeing a lot of
Right.
Yeah.
in the world today, and in the spiritual teachings today, and in the influencers, and so many people
Yeah.
are getting stuck in that aspect now. But you just put it in such a beautiful and simple way. Wow. that
A
was-
lot of things are, whenever there's a shift into a new frequency, the collective is going to be aware at a new level. So, men have been dominant over women for how long? So now, as you recognize new labels, like narcissism, technically it's not a new label, but it's a new idea that's more active. It's available everywhere, because now a primitive, abusive masculine archetype is now not okay. Where before it was like that was the thing women wanted for security, to be led and be, to be taken care of and be saved.
Like you said, are working from those sort of instinctives.
So those are becoming more available in the collective. The whole collective's growing like that. It's an indication of that being a reflection of growth.
Yeah.
So narcissism is just a new contemporary idea of that the masculine now can't have abuse in it. So women also have to be in ownership that they can't be seductive, because it's always equal. It's always an equal participatory dynamic. That's a whole can of worms because
that's-
it's an empath,
it's balance.
thing, but it's really one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just say that narcissism is a great way of labeling an old paradigm of consciousness, so that the new energy of a more balanced and integrated feminine, but also masculine as well, can be included in life. So that we all find our way in the dynamic together, because this is how we find ourselves together.
Yeah.
Finding how can I be more conscious here? Am I abusive? Am I tyrannical? Okay, I am a jerk. I am an asshole. I got to own my shit, kind of thing. Hope it's okay to curse.
Yeah.
So it's about being real. So when you're real with yourself, spiritual bypassing often is the idea that you're avoiding feeling the truth.
Yeah.
But when you're honest and real with yourself, you're going to go, boom, okay, I'm hitting something. That's why going down in the body lets you feel, boy, kind of nervous down there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, I like it upstairs because I'm not feeling too much. I like to stay in the mind.
Yeah.
Don't get to feel too much. Get to stay in my head, be in control.
Yeah.
Further down you go in your body, you're going to feel like, wow, it's scary being alive.
Yeah.
It's scary being in this world. It's scary with COVID. It's scary with the job. It's scary with et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that embracing that and connecting to a truth beyond those patterns allows a whole new self to exist and eventually a whole new society.
Yeah.
So that's how society will individualistically transform its entire perception of 3 dimensions and make sense of 4 dimensions
Wow. Yeah.
and more.
So beautifully said. Oh my gosh, Peter, this has been so phenomenal and enlightening, and I'm sure
just
everybody
getting
on
ready.
here is very appreciative.
Yeah.
We've run out of time for today, but oh my God, I'm so grateful. I hope that we get another chance to get you on here sometime in the near future, because this is
Thank you.
This
It's
is
an honor being
powerful.
here.
This is
Thank you.
powerful.
Yeah.
This is
Thank you, guys.
what big medicine is all about.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
So
We've been so
honored.
grateful for all the time that we spent here.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, with
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. It's an
yeah.
honor for me to
for
be
real.
here, and thank you. And if I could just say a last word
Yeah.
to everyone, it's
Yeah.
always, always, always about love.
Yes.
Every dimension, no matter what it appears to be, is always about somehow arriving at love, finding your connection to the limitlessness and making sense of that in the idea and energy called love, any form of love. Any way you recognize it, you'll vibrate it and take it deeper and make more sense of it. And that's the breaking through into more and more of itself.
Yeah.
The divine seeks to grow itself through us.
Yeah.
Perfectly
Love
stated.
that. Yeah.
Nice.
Love
Good
you
shit
so
right
much,
there.
brother.
Me
Yeah,
too.
Love
me
you so
Me
much.
too.
So if our listeners wanted to follow you, where could they find you?
My work number for my private practice at Peter Smith at Spiritual Guidance and Awakening is 805-699-5155.
Awesome.
Again, that's 805-699-5155.
And once you kind of get things,
And I'm going to have a new
Yep.
website up soon.
we'll have that eventually in the
Yeah. Put it in the
Yeah.
show
In the
notes
link.
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Well,
So,
Nice.
yeah. Thank you
Awesome.
so much, brother.
Of course.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
grateful
Yeah.
for your time and
Thank you
your
for
energy
you guys,
and your
too.
presence
yes,
and your insight
and your
to-
clarity.
Yeah,
yeah.
mhm.
Joy to be here.
Your beautiful perspective is like an honor for me to experience in this lifetime, and
Yes.
I'm grateful.
Same.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah,
For you
full of
guys
love
sharing.
for you,
We
brother.
love you so much,
Yeah.
You guys
brother.
too. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you guys too.
Awesome,
Yes,
guys.
thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for
Thank you
being
for
on here. I
receiving
hope
us,
that you guys have had
Yeah.
a beautiful experience as much as we have. This conversation has been truly, truly divine, and so grateful. So, Big Medicine signing off.
Signing out. Peace
Ah.
out, everybody. Love you
Love you
all.
guys.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.